Well, easier ways to make a living. Just really proud of the effort and really the response, and that's what we talked to our guys a lot about is just how are you going to respond? Because there's just so many times in a game you have a choice to whether or not you want to do the right thing or you want to give in. And after team got challenged in a film session yesterday, Hunter Maldonado, Hunter Thompson, really challenged them that, hey, man, things are going to be different. We're done losing those type of games. But we're not going to do that, unless we got to finish. And in order to finish, in order to win close games, you got to make winning plays. And in order to make winning plays, you have to have winning effort. And our effort down the stretch against Texas Southern wasn't good enough. And they saw on film that, Texas Southern had made more winning plays, played with more effort and more collective grit and toughness, and that's why they won that game. But tonight for our guys, which really is kind of like game one for us, because now you bring Quan and Kenny back into the fold. So now, as you could kind of see, we didn't have a rhythm. With those guys, we haven't practiced with that group of guys, and I couldn't tell you how long. It could be 2 months where we've had all our guys available to where we can have 5 guys on the floor. So, like, the matchups, like, we haven't really worked with Quan being at the 2. And just so for those guys, you could just see that early on, literally for 35 minutes of the game, we just kind of didn't have a rhythm. But luckily, we just kept fighting, and then found ways there with the press at the end to kind of speed them up and kind of change the momentum. And then we just made one winning play after another. And then, they make a tough shot down the stretch, and that's a deal where, maybe we wanted to foul at a certain time, but kind of the way they did it and the way they ran that play, we couldn't get the foul up 3. But you had a choice. You could either decide to feel sorry for yourselves, but then we come out from overtime, win the tip, set the tone, get Maldo down the post, and Maldo did a tremendous job of finding open guys or scoring, and just really proud of the guys. I'm not sure Kenny Foster will ever practice again while he's here. We'll just leave him in quarantine. And he's a guy that, since I got the job, knowing him for a while, knowing what he was as a player in high school, and then seeing how he shoots the ball in our workouts. He's our best shooter in workouts. And last year, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn door. He shot 19%. So I joke with him all the time. I was like, hey, man, there is no more 19%. Okay, you're too good of a shooter. When you're open, you better shoot. If you don't, you're coming out. And as you could see tonight, that's the Kenny Foster that, there's a reason why he got recruited here, the previous staff, why they liked him so much. And just to kind of see him kind of grow that way, just really proud of him. And then Quan's a player, he needs a game or two to get his feet underneath him. He's a guy that he needs that rhythm, especially when you're playing off the drive like he does. And so he had a couple of tough ones. We're talking to him all the time about playing off a 2 and trying to stay away from those charges. But, for those 2 guys to come out after not doing anything for about 14 days and to finish the way they did, that's just credit to those guys for preparing themselves for the opportunity, and then just credit to our entire team for just to have that collective grit and toughness that, we're trying to get. Michael.
I think it was with 6 minutes left, this was an 11-point game, and it kind of looked like it might go the way that the last one did. Did you see a different sort of sense around the team? Did they have a different look in their eye? Like, how did you know that this team was still good to go, even when the chips were down?
Well, it was, Coach Jimmy Edel, my strength coach, he was in the locker room before we came in there at halftime, and Jimmy's been with me for with me for 4 years at UNC, and luckily he followed me here, and he's just a huge part of what we do, and he's such a culture guy, and he's just in line with me with everything that we do. And he said after the game, like, he was in the locker room, and that's where, as a team sometimes, okay, what are you saying at halftime after you didn't play very well in the first half? And he just said it was the best locker room he had ever seen in terms of just the way they talked to one another. No one pointed fingers, and they just stuck together. And I think that was the other thing, too, during the course of that game, especially in the second half. Even when we were down 11, there was no pointing fingers in the huddle. Nobody was trying to make excuses or point blame. They just kept going. They kept saying the right things, and that's just a huge step in the right direction. Davis.
Jeff, you guys weren't hitting much of anything from the perimeter through those first 35 minutes or so. Was there a point in the second half where you just said, try to put your head down, get to the rim, try to make something happen on the inside?
Well, I mean, it was our game plan from the beginning is trying to get paint touches. I mean, this is a team that I know quite well from my time at UNC. I mean, beat them pretty good the last 2 years while I was there. Now, Coach Dr. Cunningham is in his third year, and you can see, I mean, they've made big gains. He kind of has his guys, and now those guards are good players. I mean, Willis is a good player. I mean, he's a really good player. And so, we kind of knew what they were going to do, and then they came out, and I'm not sure whether or not, they thought they could guard us man-wise, but he did a good job of coming out and kind of junking it up a little bit, showing a 1-3-1 or a 1-1-3, and kind of showing zone and then matching up to man. And so it took us a little while to kind of figure that out. And as soon as we kind of just got to move it a little bit, then created some matchups, as you saw in the second half, and when we got the ball into the paint, pretty much every possession. And then in overtime, really wanted to get Maldo down low, working the dribble downs with him and getting him down there to where he could score a pass. David. Mute.
Gotcha. There we go. Talk a little bit about what you saw from your team on the defensive end, particularly maybe growing from what they learned on Monday night down the stretch versus tonight down the stretch.
Yeah, I just, the thing I talked to him about was just, your intent and your intensity. Like, you can see in your stance, whether or not you're ready to go. And that's where I had Coach Wicks pulled some clips today from the Michigan State game against Duke, and to show Marcus, like, hey, this is what it looks like to be in a stance. Like, if you want to be a part of a winning program, this is what it looks like. And I thought Marcus did a tremendous job tonight when he was challenged about his ability to guard there at the Texas Southern game, and you could tell him he was ready to go, and he did an unbelievable job. Where last game he was guarding a driver, and in Weathers he was guarding a driver, with number 25, and he did a good job of helping off. He got some steals, he made some big blocks. I mean, he just made some tremendous plays on the defensive end, and so. We had some lapses. I mean, we had some mistakes that we're going to have to clean up, but that's just part of it. And like I said, I'm just proud of the fact that they just responded the right way. And the last 5 or 6 minutes, I mean, that's what winning looks like. But you can't do it in the Mountain West or when you play against, top level teams. We're not talented enough, we're not good enough to where we can't do that for 40 minutes. But the nice thing is we got 9-10 guys now to where we don't have to play tired, and now we have some versatility. We have, with our 9 scholarship guys, they're 10. I mean, we have a lot of versatility, and so some nights it might not be tonight. The matchups weren't right for Jeremiah Oden, and Drake kind of had an off night, but other guys stepped up. I thought, talking defense, I mean, Xavier DeSalle had an unbelievable defensive game. He did a great job. I think I'm not a big plus-minus guy, but I think he ended up the game plus 17.
Foster said it was, Kenny Foster said it was the faith you have in him that allows him to take shots the way he did there at late in that game. Where does that confidence come from that you guys will put the ball in that kid's hands that late, especially in his first game?
Well, it really wasn't, and his shots just came off of just kind of the rhythm of the offense or the offensive rebounds, and it wasn't like we were running a bunch of plays to get him shots. And I think that was kind of the thing when you watched him last year and just having played against him is, he had to shoot a lot of tough threes. And within our offense, I mean, we want to be – he's a really good spot shooter. And when his feet are set and that ball comes from inside to out, I mean, he's a guy that, like I said, when we track all our shooting. I mean, since the time we've gotten here, and we've shot a lot of shots because we can't play a lot, so we shoot a lot, knowing that we do shoot a lot of threes. And he's a guy that when he's shooting spot-up shots, I mean, he's at 70%, 70 to 75%, which is a pretty high level, sometimes above 80. And so he's capable of doing it, but sometimes as a freshman, it's hard. It's hard stepping in. It's hard stepping in at a high level, and it's hard when there's a lot of expectations. And, credit to him because he's such a good kid. I mean, that's the thing that I just enjoy so much about him is that, I knew he was a good kid, but I didn't realize he was that good of a kid. He's just a joy to be around, and hopefully he can build off of it. But who knows? I might not make him practice here anymore. I'll just keep him in quarantine. Tracy.
Given how much time they missed there, Were you reluctant at all initially to bring them back and put them in the line or on the floor tonight instead of having them wait and work out with you guys for a while?
Yeah, and Quan was able to practice yesterday, get a workout in. Kenny didn't get cleared until 2:00 today from his 14-day quarantine, and so he was able to kind of get a quick workout in. And I asked both of them, I said, hey, if you guys don't feel comfortable playing, it's on you. I said, I understand if you don't feel comfortable to play tonight, but hey, they were like, no, we've been tired of sitting around, tired of being in quarantine, tired of being in pauses. We want to play, and to have that experience, and just to see those guys, like I said, just to be able to see them at the end of the game, the way that they reacted. I mean, I'm just proud of those guys, and appreciate the previous staff for recruiting them. Davis.
So much has been made about your youth and the roster turnover. It's been well documented. I mean, did you see this team grow up some a little bit? The way they finished that game down the stretch and made some of those plays?
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, it's just the way that Maldo right now. I mean, he's like an old man, but he's walking around gingerly. And I'm like, hey man, that's what winning feels like. And you know what? That's the price you have to pay. And if that going in every game, that's how you're gonna have to feel like. Well, guess what? You'll take that any day of the week and twice on Sunday. So go make your way to the cold bath, get your treatment with Dallas, and let's get ready to practice, on Friday, which hopefully, knock on wood, we don't have anything between now and Friday with COVID, but it'll be nice to actually have our entire team, literally our entire team with our 12 guys, to actually probably have our first practice with all 12 guys, knock on wood, since probably Labor Day, where it wasn't because of injuries, COVID, contact tracing, whatever. And so I'm just really looking forward to getting those guys, because as you can see, we kind of scrapped a lot of things, which maybe it's a good thing. Maybe probably less is more with some of our stuff, and just let guys play, because that's what we ultimately want to do, is teach guys how to play.